so those are more expensive students that need those kind of supports.
How many students do you put in that category?
How many students? I don't know exactly. We have about 38 that are special ed charter. I know that number. And the other numbers fluctuate because students go out, they come back. It sort of fluctuates throughout the year. Okay, this is still our 1200 series, our 600 account, which is supplies. We're keeping that level for next year. And then our 800 account, which is our settlements, and our claims, we're keeping that level for next year. Hoping to bring that in. It's looking like it's gonna be on track to finish out this year, so we're proposing to keep it level for next year. Okay, then this is one of our other budgets, our 1400 series. This is a small budget. It has to do with our students that are homebound instruction and instruction conducted in the home because of maybe a medical need. And this is just the travel portion of that budget. Our pupil personnel, 2100 series. We have a small savings in this budget. This is a huge budget. And on the next slide, this shows you what's involved in our pupil service budget. So these are it's really training and travel costs for these staff members, guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, and there's a little bit in this budget for student accounting. And then this breaks it down. So what I found in our 300 account, why we see some savings there, is our 17-18, we didn't need the amount that was budgeted there. 18-19, we have not spent much this year, so that's why we're cutting that back pretty significantly to see some savings for next year. Travel, we're maintaining the same. Supplies and software, we're maintaining the same. And then the small 800 account, there has been nothing spent in that account, so we're taking that down to zero for next year. 2300 budget, these are our legal fees. So these typically go up a little bit every year. Actually hopeful that this year we may come in under budget, but we did put just a little bit of a cushion in there because you just never know. You know, like we just had that case that I presented to you guys in an executive session about the student that is going out of state for a program. So when something like that comes along, you have to have the funds there just in case. So we put a small increase there, but I'm really monitoring that budget and you know, watching how often we use our attorney for those things. This is our pupil health services 2400 series. So you can see the history here. We have a little bit of savings that we're proposing for next year. And that's explained on this slide. The 300 account, again, as I looked at that, there hasn't been anything spent. I'm not sure why 2000 was put in for last year. We're not spending anything this year, so we took that down to zero. And then again, the same with the 500 account. And the 600 account, which is really where we do spend in this budget for our health services supplies, we're maintaining the same level with that budget. Okay, so this is the final slide that I have. This is the summary of the history of the budgets. So you can see on the far right, we have 4 budgets where we're actually showing some savings this year, where we're able to make some cuts. And then the 2 budgets which really have to do our 1200 is our special education, and our 2300, which is our legal, where we're seeing, that's where we're seeing our increase. That brings us to the total of 327,840. So I went through that pretty quickly.
just jump in here and just say a few things if I can. What you've seen here is the result of Dr. Lyrica spending a great deal of time working with her budget. I'd like to commend her for that, and also commend Amy Light, who is our Director of Finance. I think Amy and Sherry locked themselves into a room and just scrubbed this budget this year. They were very thorough in this budget. So I thank them both for the effort they put in, and it shows, the results show, the money's going to the kids in this budget. And the places where money is it's increasing is directly student related, and where it's coming down is the peripheral things that aren't right at the core of the student. So we're finding ways to save money in other places and push it to the students. And this budget is always the hardest one to do. It has the most unknowns. It can swing wildly one way or the other based on one or two students, coming or going from the district. So it's a very tough budget from year to year to do. So I just commend them for the effort that they did with this budget this year.
Thank you, Mr. Dauber, but it's a team effort. It's not all about one or two of us, but it's definitely a team, and your office and the People's Service Office worked on this all together. So.
We have the clicker.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, well, I hope I can get the accolades she just got, so start some coming, please. No, I'm only kidding. So I would, it's getting late. So I'd like to present the technology budget here for the 1920 school year. I have it broken out into, I always go by the objects as we call them, so I have them broken out by categories. The first category here is the purchase professional and technical services. And what this will cover is, one of the main things that this covers is our Microsoft campus agreement. So we are in a consortium with the IU, Bucks IU, for the pricing for the Microsoft agreement. And when I say Microsoft agreement, I mean, every device that's running Windows. It's all our servers, it's SQL, it's Office 365, it's the AD structure. So all that is covered under this campus agreement. They just changed their pricing structure a little bit, but again, since we're in this consortium with the IU, we get better pricing than if I would just approach Microsoft and say, hey, this is Penridge, please give me a good price. So we have a little bit more leverage, I believe.
Real quick on that, given that campus agreement, do we have access to the full suite of Microsoft offerings, including Project, Visio, and SharePoint?
So we have SharePoint. I'm not sure if Visio is covered under there.
Okay, I'm just asking.
So they did just change their licensing model. We do have Minecraft now for education, or whatever that's worth. Well, Minecraft is a game that you might hear that kids play, but it also has a lot of educational value as well. So they just changed the licensing structure, and they threw Minecraft in there. There's advanced threat protection now is included within our licensing structure. So there are some different functions and features that we have access to that we didn't have access to last year. So, and that is a 3-year deal. So it may change a little bit based on our FTEs is how that is calculated. It's not based on the number of students. It's actually based on FTEs per staff is the way that they actually calculate your Microsoft agreement. So the next piece is network consulting and support. So this is when we go outside of our own staff here for some of the higher network consulting projects that we do. We use JLR Consulting, and we also use Bucks County IU when we need some additional consulting help. We brought Bucks County IU in we're setting up, when we set up O365, they have expertise in O365 and the ADFS server, so we'll bring them in. Usually in the summertime, we'll bring JLR in for some of our bigger projects. If you remember, we migrated from Exchange 2012 to 2016 this past summer. That was something that we, bring the consultant in because we're calling on their expertise that they've done this multiple times rather than us having to cut our teeth and figure out where the pitfalls are, because anytime you do a migration, there are pitfalls. So that's covered under this 300 purchase professional and technical services. We belong to the Technology Pool Consortium, which is where we can go for technical questions to the attorneys. So that is, Mark Walls is from
Sweet Stevens.
Sweet Stevens. So, but they cater but they cater specifically to technology questions. And the really great thing about that consortium is you can pose a question and then it's shared with all the consortium members. And everyone in Bucks County does belong to that, and that is invaluable. I mean, every once in a while something comes through, it's like, wow, that was really something that I hadn't even thought about. So it's really good to belong to that consortium. Then we have the help desk ticketing system. We contract with Questech. They're out of Pittsburgh, and they're our help desk system. So, helpdesk@penridge.org. How many times can we say that? You have a problem, helpdesk@penridge.org. And that actually goes out to Pittsburgh, and they categorize it and actually create the tickets for us. And then we have a small amount for staff training and development. So if somebody wants to go to a conference or some kind of training, that's rolled into here as well. So you're going to see kind of an anomaly here, and I'm going to talk about what this anomaly is here when you see a decrease of $169,304. So last year at this time, I came before the board requesting 2 additional positions. And I talked about the 2 additional positions because we were taking over some additional tasks at the high school when it comes to the one-to-one administration of the program. The library, we phased out some of the processing that the librarians were helping, and the technology staff was tasked with taking over some of the clerical work, the contacting the students to pick up their laptops. So transitioned to somebody from technology, and we actually now have somebody stationed in room 304, which is over in the high school, at certain times a day where the students can come pick up their laptops, drop off their laptops. So anyway, that was one of the positions, and then the other position that we had requested for was for the middle schools. In the middle schools, we only had 1 technician for the 3 middle schools, and with the addition of the additional laptops, and the STEM program, it was getting too much. So anyway, we came to you and asked for the additional positions. The additional positions were granted with the recommendation to go out for a contracted position for at least this year. So we had taken money out of the personnel budget where the money was originally budgeted and put it into purchase professional services here to pay for the 2 contracted positions. This year, I'm moving it out of the professional technical services back into the personnel budget to cover the salary and benefits for those 2 contracted positions, to see if we can put them into full-time school district positions. So that's where that $169,000 is kind of moving out of there. The $169,000 is more than it cost for the 2 resources that we hired. But if you also recall, there was a point where we were talking about hiring a contracted media specialist last year, and that was going to be a part-time person. So that money was transferred into this line item, but we never hired anybody. So that's why that money is a little bit inflated there. So these 2 slides just back up, I guess, what I was just speaking about. So the 2 positions, we've assigned 1 at the high school as an additional resource to help with the one-to-one loaner process as we're transitioning some of those tasks from the library to the technology staff. And that resource is responsible for teacher and student support, one-to-one loaner processing tasks. He also is very instrumental in support for professional staff development sessions, not only in the high school, but over here on in this room, actually. His name is Chester. He's a fantastic resource. Then we also moved the one resource into the middle schools, and again, in the 17-18 school year, we had one resource supporting 3 middle schools. In 17-18, we added the STEM program, we added 650 laptops, the 6th grade classroom sets, and we knew we were going to continue to be adding the laptops at the middle school levels. So in 18-19 then, we've had the 2 resources supporting the 3 middle schools. One is a Brightwise contracted position. We had, again, this year, the addition of 650 laptops in the classrooms, in 6th grade classrooms. And then next year, we'll have the addition of the laptops for the 3rd grade, at the middle school level. And the students will be taking the devices home. So now we'll be administering a one-to-one program across 3 buildings with the 2 resources. So I'm also going to be pulling a 3rd technician to kind of be a floater between those 3 buildings to help to administer that one-to-one program at the 3 different levels, even though we'll have 2 full-time resources supporting the 3 middle schools. Does that make sense? So that's where you're seeing that money kind of moving. The 400 object is the purchase property services, and this is a biggie. So this is going to be divided into 2 different slides here. The first part is the device leases. So you can see all the leases that we have for our one-to-one program, and then you can also see that we lease the elementary teacher laptops, the middle school teacher laptops. We have STEM laptops that are leased. We purchased a STEM set in, what would it be, 17, 18, and then another set in 18, 19 this year. One was for STEM 1 and one was for STEM 2. And then we also lease our network switches, and we're in lease year 3 of 5. It'll be this coming year in 1920. So the budget does increase by about $22,000 from last year to this year. I think the difference here is in lease year for the class of 2022, my original estimation, because it's always an estimation, was low. So this year I'm estimating a little bit higher, just to make sure that I cover that. And then when the actual leases are cut, then that number can probably come down. Okay. The other part of the 400s, purchase property services, are our maintenance contracts. And this is almost, falls in line with what Kelly was explaining for, Johnson Controls. So we have maintenance contracts so that if we do have something that goes wrong, we have somebody that we can call and things are covered. The maintenance contracts that this individual purchase property object code covers is for VMware, and VMware is our virtual server farm environment. Barracuda is our email archiver. Jamf is our mobile device manager for all the iPads, and then SmartNet is the contract that covers our Cisco, much of our Cisco equipment. You're going to see that there is a decrease here, and that decrease is because we're looking to get rid of the iBoss filtering client based on something else that you'll see in a subsequent slide here. Right now we have iBoss, which is our content filter, and we have to pay a maintenance fee on the iBoss client. We're looking at a firewall that will do the filtering right on the firewall, so we can get rid of that. So that's why we're seeing a decrease here. So this slide just puts the 400s all together here, so it's just a summary of the past 2 slides. So overall, there's a decrease of $6,690 between the leases and the maintenance contracts. Okay, so we do come down a little bit there. So the 500s are other purchase services. So, and this includes our transport services, so our internet transport services. So we contract with Bucks County IU for it's called the RWAN, which is Regional Wide Area Network. So we do get our internet. They are our ISP for the RWAN. Then we also contract with Synesis for the wide area network, and that's the fiber between the buildings. Then we're also tasked with the general property and liability insurance in this other purchase services, and then travel for the technicians between buildings. So you're gonna see a decrease of $1,500 here, and that is mainly because, and I think we talked about, we actually have vans now, that transportation, we got cool soccer mom vans, we call them. So they're the old vans from transportation, that Mr. Geiger has very kindly allowed us to use. So the techs, we had 4 of them, we're down to 3 of them, one just got put out to pasture. But the techs don't have to, not the tech, no, and not Mr. Geiger, don't tell him that either, although he is retiring, right? So he's on his way out to pasture. So we're able to decrease the mileage, basically, between buildings, is what I'm trying to say here. Oh, yeah.
So what does that cover? The travel, I don't, it seems like a high number.
That's a high
It's all,
It's
the
just
above,
the
the
vehicle,
above
it's all
4
the
items.
tools.
It's all 4 items above. It's everything. Oh, no, it's not
It's
travel,
Oh,
it's not,
yeah.
oh, yeah, they're going to Hawaii,
Like,
yeah. You want to be a tech now,
yeah.
don't you? No, that's total. So that's the total for, the internet transfer. You were thinking, boy, if you have an opening, I'm there. Yeah.
Travel to like.
IT is the place to be.
Yeah, IT is the place to be. Now it's like from central to south and back again, so. Okay, now the 600 software and supplies, this is an ever-growing category. So the 600 category has all of our software subscriptions. So this is where Power School comes in, or SIS, annual subscription fee. Power School registration, which is an annual subscription fee. Actually, eFinance Plus now is also Power School. Power School is taking over the world. It's their annual subscription fee and support. Then we have Board Docs, which you guys are very familiar with, that annual subscription fee and support. ClassLink is the SSO program that we are piloting this year now at the elementary levels. Wonderful success. So it's allowing students and staff to log into a central portal, and all of their apps are in one central portal, and you can actually do a single sign-on now. So it's increasing the time for instruction. It's alleviating frustration in the classroom for the teachers, for the students. So we've rolled it out to the elementary schools, and then we'll be rolling it out to the middle school and the high school next year. So that, I'm splitting with curriculum, ClassLink. Not only do we have software in this category now, but they took away at one point the equipment line item. So any equipment that is not leased is thrown into the 600s as well. This just keeps growing. So the middle school technology cost would be that for the 600 laptops that we talked about, in previous meetings, that will be pumped into the 6th grade next year. We're looking at purchasing an iPad for every elementary teacher. We had an elementary focus, technology focus group that met, and we were trying to gauge, whether what's the device of choice for the different levels of students within the elementary schools. It seems like K to 2, 3, the device of choice is the iPad. 4, 5, they love the iPads, but we're telling them they have to use the laptops as well. So what they're doing right now is each teacher does not have an iPad, so when they're teaching a lesson, they're actually taking an iPad away from a student, basically. So we're looking to actually give a device to the teachers at the elementary levels. So instead of them having to say, all right, I have 5 iPads that I can use, and now I'm using one, so my students only have 4. This way they'll have an iPad and a laptop in the elementary buildings. We're also looking at adding 30 additional iPads per school, again, to keep up with what they're asking for at the elementary level. 30 laptops in each school. We still have at the elementary level some of the labs that are out there are still iMacs. They were purchased in 2011, and we have them running Windows virtually. We repurpose them. They really have to go. So we can't get them. We keep trying to update them, and the techs do a wonderful job of getting them updated, but we have, all kinds of driver issues. We have sound issues. They take a lot of time to keep them running. So we're going to be pooling them, and then we'll provide an additional 30 laptops per school. We're also working on an entire elementary, the whole 5-year plan at the elementary schools. We have a vision of what we want each classroom to look like. Obviously, we can't do it all in 1 year here, so we will be phasing in subsequent years, but this at least gives us a start to it, to get the devices in the hands of the students. This also covers printers, projectors, adapters, docks, consumables, which would be bulbs for the projectors, office supplies, cleaning supplies. So everything is kind of lumped into here. You can see that the other piece that was in here, yes, now I remember, there was a 700 category that went away, and that was technology infrastructure. So that is now rolled into the 600 category as well. So that's why we're seeing an increase of $163,068 here, because things have kind of taken on some new, help me Sean.
They're combined.
They're combining.
They're all coming together.
So everything's coming together. I don't know exactly why they're doing it, but they're pulling everything together here. So overall, the 1920 budget is coming in at $2,048,807. So it actually is decreasing overall by $14,926. You can see that we have increased from the actuals from 17-18, but we are providing additional devices, so that's where that increase is coming from. Providing the devices at the middle school level and the elementary level now. So, but we tried very hard as well as, to keep it almost as flatline as we could, and we could actually bring it down just a little bit as well. So the last slide here has to do with capital projects funding for 1920. Last night at the technology committee meeting, which lasted 15 minutes for me, I think it was. Not quite as quick as the curriculum meeting, but it was pretty quick. I talked about a couple network infrastructure replacements that we'll be doing over the summer. It's the firewall, which is really the security of the network. It's the gatekeeper, so to speak. And then there's a Catalyst 9400 switch, which is kind of the brain of everything. One of the core switches, and then there's the wireless controllers that control all the APs or the access points throughout the district. So these were all E-rateable. So E-rate has been filed for each one of these services or each one of these categories. Total hardware and licenses that came back with the bids is $427,519. Anticipated, and I'll say anticipated because we never know quite sure with E-rate, the reimbursement would be $172,000, so that would ease the burden of the district there. Installation costs for these projects is still to be determined because we don't really have a statement of work yet. We're still in the bidding, well, the bids are back, but we're still in the defining the parameters of each one of these projects. So that is, I spoke with Mr. Dahlberg, we spoke with Mr. Rice, we spoke with, who else did we talk to about this, Sean? And Dr. Bolton, yeah, Dr. Bolton, he was part of this too. And we said, that this probably was better served to be a capital project than right within the technology budget. So the only other thing that we'll be looking at, and it's probably a December timeframe, not a summer timeframe, is replacement of the current NetApp storage, which is the storage for the district, and compute power in the data center. We've started to look at some vendors. We started to look at whether we're going to keep it in-house, whether we're going to go on into the cloud with it. So I'm just throwing an estimate out there of $200,000. It's really just a placeholder at this point. We don't have the firm numbers there, but that would all come through capital projects as well. So, and that sums it up, and I'm open for questions.